When I first decided to have this class, I started thinking of things that I would like to share. And then I thought, well, I should ask my kids for their input. So I asked some of them for their input and got it.
Do you have extra?
Yeah.
One page. And when they came with what I wanted to talk about, I thought, I'm not giving a talk. They told me, here's what you need to tell them. And make sure you tell them this, make sure you tell them this. And I said, I'm not giving a talk. So then I had to think about, okay, how can I structure this into questions to create a discussion? So I tried to do that. So the first question is, true or false? A good home is like a good restaurant. Children at age should be allowed to select what they eat.
False.
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 Yeah, we all agree, false. But with the young families today, that's not the trend.
I know.
The young families today, the moms will say to the 2-year-olds, 4-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, what would you like to eat? That's what they do, right?
There's some cereal down in the cupboard and I'll even take one to feed it.
I saw a video yesterday of a little girl. She had had waffles for Christmas breakfast, and all she could think about was waffles. And every time she was asked what she wanted to eat was waffles. And she's like, I just can't stop thinking about waffles. That's all I want. And I thought, don't ask her anymore.
Yeah,
Just give her something
Yeah,
else.
exactly.
Stuck in her head.
so that was easy. Number 2, meal and snack time should be random to give experience and help a young person figure out what they like best.
False.
I think it should be that their meal times would be regular.
So that's false. For that reason right there. Meal times should be regular. Oh, I have a lot of people come to see me, and when I ask them, do you have breakfast? I get, well, sometimes. That's never good. When do you have lunch? Well, it depends on what I'm doing.
Depends if somebody feeds them.
Yes. And when they have supper, well, kind of depends on what, so the irregular times. What about snack time? When is snack time?
All day for some kids. And then they
All
don't
day
wanna-
for some kids.
So they don't want to eat their meals.
Exactly. Is that a good
And
thing?
usually about the time that they should be getting ready for a meal, then they start getting hungry and they snack and then they're not hungry for the meal.
Exactly.
That's
They don't learn to wait, right? So that creates a trend. We're talking about healthy people, not just nutritionally healthy, but healthy mentally, healthy emotionally, healthy spiritually. And when we think about this whole topic, in my mind, I like to again go back to the triangle and think about each portion of the triangle, and think about what are we going to do to help them, even spiritually. If you believe the Apostle Paul, he said in Corinthians, your body's the temple of God. So it's not about feeding just the body. It's about the body is on loan to you, young person, from God, and it's up to you to take care of your body properly because it's a temple. So Paul said, therefore honor God with your bodies. I like that phrase. I like to have some people I see say, okay, I'd like you to take off your clothes, all of them, get in front of a mirror and ask the question, am I honoring God with my body? Some of them would have to say, no, I don't think I am. So they have to make changes. Number 3, for your child's mental well-being and safety, parents should be like a OSHA and try to prevent them from making mistakes and getting hurt. What do you think about that concept?
Well, I think that's true.
You think that's true?
However, so many parents go overboard. They don't, I mean, now we're wearing helmets and we don't let, I mean, it's too dangerous to be on a trampoline and you don't want to let them get in the mud. You know what I mean? Right now our recreation is so societyized. I don't know. To me, I think they need to risk a little bit.
They need to what?
Risk
They need to risk.
a little bit.
Yes.
You know,
They need,
there are some helicopter parents that just hover over them to make sure they never do anything dangerous.
that's why I have this question, because those kids who never can get hurt, they never can make a mistake when they finally get to be mid-teens, early 20s, they get married, they haven't ever had to overcome a mistake. And when they make a mistake, it's devastating to them. And they don't know how to repent. They don't know how to take care of themselves. So I totally agree with you. This is, in my opinion, also that is false. We should let them get hurt.
Within reason, right?
Sure.
Like there are loving boundaries. There's some things we don't want them to do, but
Like what?
like run out in the street in front of a car.
Well, sometimes
Okay.
you have to prevent them from doing certain things.
Sure.
There are some things.
Touching
There
the
are
house, so-
free range parents who let their kids just do whatever they want, and then you have helicopter parents who monitor everything their child does.
So
So you
where
need-
should,
Somewhere in the middle.
somewhere in the middle,
Happy medium.
happy medium, yep. Number 4, a good parent is more like a friend and a guardian than a teacher. True or false?
True.
Oh, I'm funny because I see it as a lot of parents are afraid of being firm about the rules and things. They don't ever want their children to be mad at them. They're kind of afraid almost that their kids won't like them if they hold to the rules. I don't know, and I know what you mean about you want to be your child's friend because they need that love and nurturing, but they also need the parent to be the parent, not just a buddy, sort of.
So let's talk about this for a few minutes. So we talk about kids. In my mind, I'm thinking a child under 8 years old needs a lot of teaching. A lot of, this is the rule, this is good, this is bad, this is dangerous, this is okay. And when they do something that can hurt them a little bit, as a parent, my philosophy was let them get hurt with small injuries. For example, our boys found a box of stick matches that you'd light anywhere. They out playing with the matches. And Mom says, don't let them get burned. And I said, why not? Let them learn now how to play with the matches. Now, if they'd been in the bedroom, it would be a different story. So when they get older, now they're teenagers. Now that you have to balance the teacher-friend relationship. And when they get older, like my daughters, they're in their early 40s, they still need a teacher, but they also need a friend. And if I ask them, am I more a friend or a teacher? What would your answer be?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And it goes like this. And now, when they get that old, now they can be the teacher. And that's one thing I learned as a young parent when we had about 5 kids, and I learned about the profile, about how the mind and the body works together. We did x-rays on all my kids to see what their patterns were. I learned very quick that they become the teacher and I become the student. That's why we have 8 kids, so that I had 8 teachers. 1 or 2 wouldn't have done it for me. I needed more teachers. How many do you have?
4.
You're smarter than I am, see?
You know, it's interesting. My granddaughter's husband had a birthday yesterday and he turned 38. Anyway, I said, well, did you have a great birthday? And he said, you know what the best part of my birthday was? He has 5 children. Every one of them earned money of their own and bought him a present. And he said that was the best birthday I ever had because they worked to get that money and bought me a present.
That's fantastic.
Tyson, Katie's husband. But he said that made my whole birthday.
Should have made you proud too.
I was very proud of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, wow, that's interesting. I mean, he didn't even talk about what he got for, but he said that was the best present I could have had for my kids.
Thank you.
So,
Number 5, it is best when bedtimes are left up to the young so they can accommodate to school, athletics, and social demands. Bedtime.
thoughts.
False. Why false? When is bedtime?
I bring every time every night.
Depends on the age of the child. Toddlers, it's about 8 o'clock. Middle schoolers, it's about 9 o'clock. High schoolers, it's about midnight. It just depends on their age.
Do you think midnight's a good time?
No, I don't. That was a joke.
It's funny how the structure is because some of my grandkids, great grandkids, they go to bed at all times of the night, and yet I have a daughter that has her kids to bed every single night at 7 o'clock without fail, and they get up every day at 5:30. It's just regular.
Do they live on a farm?
No?
Welcome.
Oh,
Come on in. It's good to have you.
thank you.
So,
I don't know the answer to that.
you know, when you think about the universe and how the universe is organized, God has the whole deal worked out. It's on the cycles. We have the seasons. We know what time the sun's coming up. We know when it's going down. We know when winter is, summer, spring. So that things are set in order. And the order is not just earth. The order is plants, animals, insects, all kinds of life. All life forms have order in them. And my way of thinking is the more order you can establish and the better off, the more in harmony you are with the earth and the cycles. And like going to bed at 7 o'clock, that works real fine until they get to a certain age. Like, and you have to modify. But sometimes the modifications don't get done, and it destroys and disrupts the child. We're a number
So would you say false on that one?
false.
And number 4 was false, right?
Number 4 was false.
Yeah, okay.
Number 6, even though water should be, quote, drink of choice, it is best to encourage experimenting with commercial flavors, stimulants, to encourage flexibility. To encourage flexibility. True or false? False. So the line, water is the drink of my choice, that's a good line. We had a friend, Dr. Chi, whenever he used to come to Colorado to visit us, whenever we would go out to eat, even in the clinic, he wanted a pot of hot water all the time. Because when he drank
All the
water,
time.
he wanted water that would be add energy to his body, not subtract. He only wanted water. He didn't want tea. He didn't want anything else but water, because he knew the body would be more healthy with small sips of water.
And hot water?
Well,
It wasn't scalding, it was like body temperature hot, so when he drank it, it was
Enjoyable.
the same as inside. His body wasn't having to cool it down or heat it
Medium
up.
warm?
see, warmer than room temperature. In China, cups don't have handles like they do here. Here we pour boiling water in a cup with a handle because you can't hold the cup. In China, they have no handles and they're thin, so if you can't pick it up, you don't drink it. If you can pick it up, you can drink it. That's a good rule to follow. Buy thin cups and don't use the handle. And when you have a mealtime, the best thing to drink is, again, warm water in sips. I had a discussion yesterday with a lady in class who we were talking about eating in church and she said, I always take water to church and drink in church because I have to get my water in. Well, that's all well and good, but then we talked about the social aspect and the reverence aspect of church. And so she decided she would not drink water in church anymore. So number 7, this one was recommended by a son-in-law who said, I wish I would have known about money. And so I recommended this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Have any of you read it? 1, 2,
She said, mm-hmm.
3, 4. So The Richest Man in Babylon, it's an easy read. It's a story, and it has a very good moral that if you can apply, will change your whole life financially. So that answer, the number 7 is true.
Are so far all of them false except 7?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 8, paying attention to what needs attention is usually the most just a distraction from your ultimate goal. Now, yesterday in class we talked about that one, and the operative word is usually, not always, but usually. People get distracted.
Can you expand on that?
Pardon?
Can you expand on that? I think I know what you mean, but you say paying attention to what needs attention. So if
Yes.
it needs attention, it could still be a distraction, but it needs attention. So where's the line?
For example, my wife and I were talking about cleaning the house. And if there's that dust somewhere, we don't need to be told the dust, what the dust is. And it's not, you know, if the goal is to get something done quickly, sometimes you get diverted. But if something needs attention, you pay attention to it, even though it may distract you. If you're driving down the road and the car starts making a noise, the oil light comes on, that becomes more important than getting to where you're going. Number 9.
So that would be false or
That's
true?
false. Chairs, beds, shoes, and backpacks have little to do with posture and ultimate health.
False.
False. Let's talk about shoes. Sometimes parents will say, I have a lazy kid, he drags his feet, he wears his shoes out. Well, parents wear their shoes out crooked too. When I used to check patients in the office, I would look at their shoes to see where they were and how they were. And if they were crooked, if one side's different than another, that's a proof that there's some kind of deviation in the body. So noticing that kind of thing can be a great value. Same with packs. Kids wear packs that are inappropriate. I see them every day walking to school with backpacks that are bad. They create bad posture. They lean forward. It hurts the head, it hurts the back, hurts the knees and feet. So all of these small things like chairs, beds, shoes, backpacks have a major effect on health. Major, more than you would think, because many times, for example, many times that's just the chair can make a huge difference. For example, I had a lady yesterday who had a problem with her low back and her hip, and I asked her, when do you think this starts? And she said, well, I like to sit on the couch and pull my leg up and turn and watch TV. Well, guess what? When she stands up to walk, she can hardly walk. Now, what I call that, it's in the book, repetitive micro-trauma. Repetitive micro-trauma are the things that get most people in trouble. It's those small things, okay, like that. Like now, number 10. You can read that. They did a survey. They hired an amusement park, hired professional consultants, paid them big money to come into the amusement park and do watch what goes on and determine what kids liked the most. Which one do you think it was?
Cell phones.
That's right. That's right.
That's what they want.
That's true
What?
right now.
That's what they want.
That's what they want. So they go to Lagoon, they go to Disney World, and they walk around with a cell phone. They sit down in the park and they want mom and dad's,
Cell phone.
or they have their own. A lot of young kids, how old do you have to be to have a,
Well, my 11-year-old's been begging for a couple of years, and all of her friends have them,
all 11? All her friends have them.
and that makes me crazy.
How old is your grandson?
He's almost 3.
And what does he do a lot?
Well, his screen time is extremely limited. So
His screen time.
he rarely gets the phone, he rarely gets TV.
Because he has a good mom.
He has a very good mom. And he has an extremely good vocabulary, active, imaginative.
And her daughter is that way because she's that way.
Right.
We trained her well and it's going on down. It's called the trickle effect. That's what you were talking, both of you talked about so far today. Your teaching has taught good habits, good principles. You have a couple that are kind of questionable, right? I did too.
Well, it's one thing teaching it and another thing having them live by it.
Exactly. You know, thank you for saying that, because I have people who are older than any of you that know what to do. They've been to class, they've done a lot of reading, they've done a lot of their own experimenting and learning and practicing, but they don't do it. They don't do.
I think that's part of what this class is about, is teaching young children. One of the greatest satisfactions as a parent is to have your 20-year-old or your 22-year-old come back and say, Mom, you were right about that. I need to change what I'm doing and do what you told me. Yes, you do.
It's true.
Yep, thank you. Number 11, the best doctor for your children is the one within, or a specialist in a crisis. What does it mean, the doctor within? What does it mean to you, the doctor within?
What you know inside the spirit, or your own thoughtfulness will tell you what's good for you.
Your
You know,
intuition.
in fact, you're just your body by itself.
And it
Tells
goes,
you if you overeat or you don't get your sleep or whatever. Tells you.
it tells you, yeah.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, your body has automatically built in, I'll pass this around for you. We did pass that around. By divine design, again, you're made in the image of God. By divine design, each one of you have built in your body, I'll call them systems. We can compare your body, your baby's body, to a computer. At birth, the computer, the baby, comes with many built-in programs. I think they're called what? Software? Built-in programs. That sheet lists out for you several of the built-in systems that God gave you. They work automatically all the time with you. Never ever have to think about them. They're there to help you survive. Survive means what? On a scale of 0 to 100, 0 being dead, 100 being totally perfect, survive is way down below 50. You can survive automatically with all of the gifts that God has given you, but to be healthy means you're more than that. You're above 75, maybe even above 82% full of energy. You have to think, and you have to make decisions, and you have to make choices. On the bottom of that same sheet gives you some examples of some of the things that you have the ability to choose. For example, like when you go to bed, our son Andy decided before he went away to school that he needed to be healthy, 8 hours of sleep. So when he was recruited to play football at the Air Force Academy, they worked him long hours. They get up early, they would work him hard all day long. He would count back on the clock 8 hours and decide when he would go to bed so that he would get 8 hours of sleep. So sometimes he would go to bed like way before any of his roommates because he wanted 8 hours of sleep, because he chose to maintain that option. Now, most people know they need more sleep, but they don't get it. They don't do it. They choose to do other things. But that's something that I believe should be taught to kids when they're little.
So while you're on number 11, talking about the doctor within or a specialist in a crisis, you know, you can call it gut instinct, you can call it intuition, you can call it innate, whatever, but I think that it's really important that it can be taught to children that if they don't feel well or if they feel like something's wrong, they're not wrong or they're not making it up. In fact, last week your 11-year-old leaned over to me and said, I'd like you to do my blood because I haven't been feeling too well and I think something's wrong. And I was so impressed that she was in tune with that and thought, there might be something wrong. So props to you for teaching her.
Yeah, and that's true of most kids who would come to the office when they were babies and get treated when they're little, and they get hurt. They would know they needed to get help so that their body could fix itself. And that's kind of the idea around this question is a lot of kids think opposite. They think anytime they get hurt in any way, they need to go get a pill, they need to go get it, to the doctor, rather than let the body fix itself. So when they get a cut, when they get a scratch, they get a wound of any kind, teach them your body is going to fix that problem. Just watch it. It's going to take a week or two, whatever it's going to take. It's going to repair itself because it has built in that potential automatically.
Wasn't it true on that one? On the 11.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what
Am I
about
right or wrong?
what about a crisis?
Well,
When you have a crisis and you need a specialist, don't wait. Okay, don't hesitate. Have one of your
but it says or
pardon?
or a specialist. While you're in a crisis, you need a specialist.
For example, if you have something like may sound simple, but something like a hernia, something's tore and it needs to be fixed surgically, then get it done. Don't drag it on and on and on and on. Some things need crisis care. You get the right specialist, you get it fixed.
In other words, don't just keep going to a doctor for painkillers.
Right.
For the pain, go get it fixed.
I totally agree with that. And if the doctor says something like, well, you're just going to have to learn to live with it, I think that's not good advice. I would personally look for another doctor. Or if they say, you're going to have it until you die, well, when do you think that may be? This week? Or will have it in 10 years?
Well, the body, I think its natural desire is to heal itself. And if we'll kind of get it out of the way and stop doing hard things to it, bodies heal. A lot of things don't have to be permanent maladies.
Exactly. And one of the problems with the kind of work I teach and do is natural healing usually takes more time. A lot of people who have a knee replacement, hip replacement, would heal if they would do repetitive microtherapy and give the body time to heal itself. But they don't want to wait. They want to get it fixed next week. Right? Teaching a child to nap is teaching a child to be lazy. False.
You're pretty definitive on that.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Am I right? It's false.
Yeah.
The child needs it and the mom needs it. It's sanity time for both of them.
Sanity time?
Sanity time.
Sanity time. I call it healing time. Mom needs rest. Number 13, when youth complain of being tired or bored, it is best to give them something exciting or entertaining to keep them busy.
I'd say false.
I think that's true.
Why? What would you?
Let them figure it out.
What?
They need to figure it out. Whether they want to just be bored or they just want to be
Entertaining.
entertained.
Entertain.
I mean, they got a choice.
Well, that's when the creativity kicks in.
Exactly.
I used to say to my kids, if you're bored, I've got some things you can do.
Yeah.
I've got some woodwork that needs washing. They always found something to do.
But nowadays, Mom says,
Here's the phone.
go watch that. Go watch this.
Or, yeah, watch Disney Plus.
When kids wear shoes out, it's a sign of laziness. True or false? False. In most cases, it's a structural problem. They wobble. Their hip, their knee, their ankle, their foot, something's not quite right, which causes them to wear things uneven. And a lot of things that can be done to balance the body to keep things from wearing out soon. Number 15, this is a tough one. Currently, the CDC, pharmaceutical companies, and the governments are more trustworthy than God and His creations.
Absolutely true.
That's what.
Absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna pass this around. I think somebody sent this to me.
My mom sent that to me.
And for your own benefit, this is a list of 75 vaccinations that are required by the CDC.
I can't believe
You can have one of
it. They
these.
just added more and more every year.
We're not
That's by the time they're 18.
18?
Yeah.
And we just added more.
That's the cutest thing.
And California right now has a bill that is trying to be passed, allowing children from 12 years old on up to be able to be vaccinated without parent consent, parent
Oh, they
authorization.
are?
Yeah.
They've
Age-
already had them in schools
Age 12.
doing that where they just go in and all get them.
So the market, so I've talked in the past about the 3 M's, the manufacturers, the merchants, and the marketers that are your enemies. And right now, Satan has manufactured some ideas. The government is marketing them. The pharmaceutical companies are the merchants. Somebody in class last week said another M needs to be added. That's the money mongers. Right now, that's a big deal.
What was the first one? Merchants, marketing, and money mongers. What was the first one? You said?
The manufacturers,
Oh, yeah,
the
manufacturers.
merchants, the marketers. And that's one of the problems kids, young people have. If you go into a grocery store, a lot of kids are sitting in the cart with mom's pushing the cart and the kids going down the aisle. They're looking for stuff they've seen on TV. And they want. Yesterday in class, one of the ladies said, my granddaughter always insists on ramen noodles. So I give her ramen noodles. And the question came, who buys the ramen noodles? It's not the granddaughter.
Yeah.
And so sometimes not having things available is kind of the key to, like your grandson. You can go in their house, you can look around for things that shouldn't be there, and they're not there, right? So they don't have the opportunity to choose. Any final questions or comments?
Well, that's kind of interesting. One of the brethren, I can't remember which one, said, sin lies in putting yourself in a position to be tempted. It's not really only the sin itself. It's putting yourself in a position where you'll be tempted. You know, if you have going into a bar or going into some sleazy place late at night, or,
Yeah,
you know, and for my daughter-in-law, she said, I don't bring things home that I don't want to eat or have my children eat. So she said, if they want junk, they're not going to find it at my house.
that's
Just like you said.
okay. Thank you.